Well, hi, and welcome to Father, Son, and Skillet, and another episode of Chicken What the Hell.
Today, we're making chicken with shallots and cream.
Now, I've seen comments from people on other videos where they used shallots. Comments like this one. Yeah. So, Owen here, being a big fan of words and where they come from, I mean, he does have a degree in classical studies, he's going to break that down for us in just a minute.
So here's what I found. As you can expect from English, both words were borrowed. The first word to enter English was scallion, originally scallon in the late 14th century, borrowed from the Anglo-Norman escalone. That word comes from the Old French Echelogna, which comes from the Vulgar Latin Ascalonia. That word is a shortening of the Latin phrase Caipa Ascalonia, onion from Ascalon.
And Ascalon is where?
It's a port city in the Levant, modern-day Ashkelon.
So it's Israel or Palestine?
Yeah, that area.
Okay, now tell us about shallots.
So, shallots entered about 100 years later, in around the 1660s. That word, originally échalote, comes from the French. Modern French doesn't spell it with an S, though it's pronounced very similarly. Older French would have spelled it with an S, and at that point it probably would have been eschalote. And that word comes from the Old French, we're talking 1,000 years ago, Echelogna, which should sound familiar. Because that word also is the same word coming from the Vulgar Latin Escalonia, which means onion from,
Oh no.
oh yes, Ascalon.
Well, thank you, Professor. That made everything clear as mud. Okay, let's try it this way. Say you go to the grocery store and you see these. These on the left are scallions. You'll find them 6 or 8 in a bunch at the grocery store, and they're great. We use them all the time. Scallions. Got it? Okay. This is a shallot. They look kind of brown, unpeeled. We peeled this one. And shallots are what we're going to use for today's dish. There you go. First, we'll turn this on, not too high. Let this pan preheat a minute. I've got 4 chicken thighs here, and we've trimmed the skin nicely so that there's no extra bits hanging off. Be sure to save that extra chicken fat because it makes great schmaltz for cooking, and you can use it also to make stock. Let me wash my hands. Okay, now let's season our chicken. It's a very simple dish. Just some salt and pepper.
Really taste the natural sweetness of the chicken.
Oh yes.
And just let the onions enhance that.
Right. It's a great combination. Let's turn these over. The other side seasoned. Those aside. All right, now, pan has been preheating for a minute. You can see the oil starts to shimmer when it goes in. You don't need much because the chicken will throw off some fat of its own. That's what you want to hear, that little sizzle.
Now remember, don't touch. Let that skin get nice and crispy and it'll release when it's ready.
Absolutely, we'll just let that fry slowly, render its fat for several minutes, and we'll start getting everything else ready. Now to cut a shallot, we want to cut these really pretty fine. Because it's basically round, we cut several vertical cuts as well as some horizontal cuts. Then we just
there we go.
And our shallot is ready. Now see, chicken, we didn't touch it. It's gotten nicely browned. It didn't stick.
And it comes right out.
Comes right out. Look at that beautiful color. Now we'll let that brown on that side for a little longer, and we'll go on to our next steps. All right, so the chicken, nicely browned, and we can take it out of the pan for a moment.
And this is an old French recipe, so I think I know what's coming next.
You're correct, Monsieur. We are going to pour off fat from the pan. Notice there's a lot more fat than we started with. And we will add a couple of tablespoons of butter. It is a French recipe after all.
And we're going to be adding cream later, so it makes sense.
Right. And we have browned the chicken on both sides, but as you could probably tell, it is not done. So we're going to finish our cooking in
Covered saute.
in the covered saute, exactly, which is the whole method behind chicken what the hell. The basic recipe is chicken. You brown it on both sides, you add things to the pan, you cover the pan, you turn the heat down for 20 minutes, and you have a dish. What you put in there is up to you. But there are a zillion classic recipes like this one.
All right, our butter's melted.
Our shallots in here.
One of my favorite smells. Onions sauteing in butter.
People have come into our house and said, "What is that smells so good?"
Onions sauteing in butter.
Or olive oil, but
Or
yes.
olive oil, but butter adds an interesting quality.
Give these just a little bit of salt. They don't need a lot because the chicken was well seasoned.
But this helps balance the whole dish and pull a little more moisture out of the onions.
Right. Because we want them nice and soft and sweet. And then we'll also throw off a little liquid of their own
And we can use that
that
to
we
get
can
the
use
fond.
to deglaze the pan. But we have another deglazing step to come. And we'll cook these until they're just maybe definitely getting translucent. As I always heard told to me, you cook the onions until they're clear, which isn't exactly right, but translucent. They're starting to look less opaque, and then maybe even starting to get a little brownness, and we're almost there. So our next step is to finish our deglazing process. The recipe always, for this sort of thing, always calls for some white wine. And one of the tricks that we use is to have some dry vermouth in hand, because it keeps in the pantry and it gives nice subtle flavors to the pan. So we'll just go through here and you can see we're knocking out the little crusties and cleaning off the edge of the pan a little.
The fond.
The fond, yes. That's where all the goodies are, I tell you. And that will help make our sauce, because that's all chickeny goodness.
And you can see how much the fond helps, considering the vermouth was near clear.
And yes, this will have a little brownness to it. Still smelling a little alcohol in this, so we'll cook this until the alcohol is gone. And set our chicken back in the pan. We'll put a lid on it, turn the heat down, and give it about 20 minutes. Okay, our finishing touch, a little bamage, just some parsley to give it some color.
And a nice fresher herbal note to balance things.
Be careful to not overdo parsley, because a little of it adds a little fresh green flavor to it, and too much is grassy.
You can't undo the damage.
Right. Okay. That's our 20 minutes. Look at that beautiful chicken. Now, we'll lift it out. Put it on a serving plate.
And it gets to rest for a few minutes while we make the sauce.
The sauce mostly just needs to cook down a bit. We could let this reduce a little more, but we're hungry. So, good shot of heavy cream. I'm sure there are measurements out there, but it's
Enough to bind, enough to balance.
enough to give you enough sauce to be really tasty with your meat. See those beautiful bits of shallot in there? All right. Now, the finishing touch. Bam. Like I said, not too much. Just enough to have some green flecks going on. This is the last chance to put it out, to taste it before we put it in front of the critics. Oh yes, that is really, really good. Just enough plate to hold all that sauce.
Just.
So there you have it. Chicken with shallots and cream. And a little parsley. Very simple recipe. If you're stuck on what to do with chicken, here's one more idea. That's why we call this whole method Chicken What the Hell. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. Be sure to click like. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't, and join us again next time for something on Father, Son, and Skillet.